And joining me now, she is an accomplished actor. You'll know her from her many appearances on a show that sounds like Straw and Border, Miss Allison Siko. Welcome, Allison.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for schlepping to Brooklyn.
Of course, I love to cross the river when I can.
So you're the first guest in the new digs. So you're christening that seat
I
right
feel
now.
very honored. Thank you so
So I
much.
appreciate you being patient with our experimentation. And there's a lot to talk about, of course. We are still on strike,
Yes.
so we're speaking strike language.
So yes, SAG after strong.
And but first, before we get into all that business, I want to talk to you about you.
Sure.
Tell me, how did you get into the crazy business of show? What's your origin story?
I started kind of since birth, really. Um, I was born with a little bit of jaundice, and they put me under that like rotisserie chicken light in the hospital. And I apparently was so okay with people looking and just checking to make sure I was okay that the nurses asked my parents, "Hey, can we actually use her as the little model baby to show the other parents how you wash their hair, how you change a diaper?" And I was so fine with it that I'm guessing that that's where it really started, but, consciously, I remember watching a lot of movie musicals growing up and being obsessed with, say, Shirley Temple and Beauty and the Beast and, Barbra Streisand and Funny Girl and, um White Christmas, the whole feather fans and everything, and I'm an only child, so I didn't have a sibling, but I would have my friends come over, and I'd have my little dress-up trunk, and we'd try to do the sisters, sisters together and, just have some fun, and this was all down in Maryland. I actually was born and grew up there the first 5 years of my life in Maryland, but, then I just really had the bug and wanted to perform, and so, through family friends, we had a connection to New York, and they were coming up for an audition, and I begged my mom. I said, "Can we go with them just to see what it's like?" And she said, "You're 3 years old. Like this is very precocious of you." And I said, "Mom, commercials are easy. You just bite a cookie and go, it's good." And she said, "Well, with that logic, sure, we can give this a shot." So she just figured since she grew up in the New Jersey area, she'd take me up. We'd like hail a cab, see some big buildings, call it a day. Put a pin in that. But we got up here and our family friend went on her audition. And then because it's such a long drive, they said, we have to stop by our agent's office real quick to like give them some new pictures or, whatever you do to check in. And I saw a room full of adults that I had never seen before. And I was that precocious kid who would go up to people in supermarkets and start doing impressions. So I was like, new audience members, here we go. And I did my Steve Urkel impression of Laura got any cheese and just started being my goofy self. And they said, she's hysterical. Can we send her out? And my mom said, that's exactly what she wanted to do. We don't know how this works, but sure. And by the time we got back to Maryland, there was a message on the machine. I'm dating myself slightly, but then I had an audition the next day, and I got a call back, and I booked my first commercial, and it's kind of been a ever lovely rolling snowball of fun since.
What was like the first big job though? Like, what was the first? Was it when you got on the TV series, or was there other things before that?
Oh, I'm hopefully going to be a multi-decade overnight success. So it started with a lot of network national commercials for major brands such as Cheerios and Playskool and Fisher Price and Burger King and Crest toothpaste. So I was a commercial kid working the circuit, as you would say, and grew up with a lot of people who have since gone on to Disney fame, Nickelodeon fame, et cetera, et cetera. But my parents always wanted to have me have one foot on reality. And so I did the whole public school system and was very much living a half quote unquote normal kid life and half performing kid life. But I did a lot of theater growing up as well. And so I got to do some amazing main stage productions at Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey. And through doing that, the one show that really solidified everything for me was Gypsy, starring Betty Buckley and Deborah Gibson. And to have Betty Buckley, legend of stage and screen, playing my mother, she was Mama Rose, and I was Baby Louise, the younger counterpart to Debbie Gibson's older Louise slash Gypsy. It was just such a formative experience. And she would give me acting notes as if I was a peer of going, no, don't anticipate that moment. You don't know what we're going to say. let the audience have their moment. And it was magical. It was like everything I had seen in those old fashioned movie musicals of when they're showing the vaudeville kids how to do it. And so I started to fully comprehend that, oh, this is a path. This is a career. You can do this like for more than just having fun on a day on set or a couple of weeks at a theater. This can be a life. And so that was exceptionally formatting of my foundation of what I wanted to do. And then through that, I went to their educational program in the summers, learned a lot. And then I was at Mason Gross at Rutgers University for my BFA in acting. And we got to have our exchange program with Shakespeare's Globe over in London. And I got to learn about the classics and perform on the Globe stage, which was amazing. But yes, throughout all of this, I had auditioned for any kind of television, independent film, major motion pictures under the sun. And since we are currently on strike, I can't really talk about a lot of them. But yes, one of the bigger things was I got an independent film, and then I also had gotten a recurring role on a network television show that people might recognize me from. But yeah, it was that kind of thing of where things just kept happening and just kept making sure that I was training because, doctors don't automatically get to operate on people. They have to go to school. And I felt the same way as this is going to be my job. I want to know what I'm doing. So I'm constantly taking classes, constantly auditioning, and just living that actor life. And now I'm in the city and still doing it.
I found, and I've had other people on the show who were child actors before. There's a big difference between being the cute kid on set and trying to make it as an adult.
Oh, big time.
Like the competition's a lot more fierce. It's a lot different. People treat you different.
Yeah.
Was there like sort of a coming of age moment?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely there is a transitional period that unfortunately not everybody makes it across that bridge. Some people realize, oh, I did it a lot as a kid, and they either feel burned out and then they just don't want to follow the path any further and they pick a new path. And I do have some friends who have lovingly switched gears and they're living their best lives, very away from the limelight. And then there are others who power through, and I feel like I'm one of them who's powered through, but it also very much depends on, it's a visual medium most of the time. So it depends on your meat suit, as I call it. Like we're literally just puppets in a puppet show. And so if the puppet doesn't look right for the characters, you have to wait until it does. So I have kind of baby face-itis, and I've looked really young for a really long time. And so to be taken seriously as an adult in the industry, it's kind of figuring out the timing of when do you actually look like an adult, when do you behave like an adult, when can they cast you in a role and make it believable. Like I'm still kind of on the cusp of, I don't know if people would believe me as a young mom. I think I'm getting there, but for their longest time, people were like, oh, when did you graduate school? And I was like, a few years ago. But yeah, it's that kind of thing of just seeing where you fit. And if you don't currently find a place that you fit, how do you make yourself fit? And that's the transition I've been having recently with the COVID lockdown, with the strikes. It's gotten me to realize that the people who have staying power make things. Artists are craftspeople. You have to keep making things. You can't just sit by the phone to ring. So the idea of just being an actor who only reads words written by someone else, that's a very antiquated idea now. So I've been looking into producing and writing and creating my own mark because I'm not going anywhere. As I like to say, I'm on the Betty White plan. I know I started early, but I only want to exit stage left when the stage manager in the sky says it's time.
Now with the strike happening, like how are you keeping busy? And I know I remember I think you said you were taking some classes and stuff like that. What does someone do in this situation? And how do you support yourself?
Oh, the supporting the self is very challenging at the moment. Definitely having just had some episodes run really did help. I was living off of residuals for a little bit, but that coffer ran dry pretty darn quick, especially since part of what we're fighting for is for the residuals to have staying power. Like I have some episodes that I shot when I was younger that are still earning me more in residuals than what I just shot 2 years ago, because now there are new formulas involved, there's streaming involved. And so it is not the same payday as it was where I used to, like everything of that would go into a fund, like and stay aside to help pay for college, pay for books, pay for the training classes that I wanted to take, because this is definitely not a cheap art form. But now that I live in the city, there's also rent to pay, there's health insurance to pay, I don't have a car payment, and I don't have a child or a fuzzy little puppy yet, but I do have houseplants that need to be watered. So, there is a sense that I need to have some sort of income. And so I've been doing the best I can, picking up gigs where I can. I have a lovely friend who is an events production manager, or excuse me, producer. They created their own production company, and whenever they're doing a gig where they would need a national anthem singer, they've been reaching out to me. And so I got to sing on the Intrepid for a gala, and I got to sing for a celebrity softball game at Yankee Stadium. And they're not going to pay my rent fully, but they're definitely going to help. And then I do have a very, very supportive familial and friend network. So, there is the occasional, hey, can you loan me some? I will pay you back kind of a thing. So it is a bit survival mode. You do what you can and you make it work. But also I'm very, very cognizant of, I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want to abuse those privileges I do have, because I know not everybody has them. So it is the thing of, it's a tightrope, but I'm walking it and doing the best we can.
I don't want to talk too much about the strike because, who knows, maybe by the time this comes out, it's over. We don't know.
Fingers crossed.
But I do have some more fun questions I want to ask you. I'm sure, if you're not, I will eat my hat. I'm sure you're familiar with the program Inside the Actors Studio.
Yes, I am.
Okay, with James Lipton, the late, great James Lipton. So, as you know, at the end of that show...
No way!
Lipton had the Bernard Pivot questionnaire.
Yes, he did!
Which Pivot developed for a show called Apostrophe, and another one I can't pronounce because my French is terrible. But I would love to ask you those questions, because I feel like no one's going to be interviewed by James Lipton anymore. And, he pinched those questions from Pivot.
It's true.
So I can pinch them from him.
Oh my gosh, you are fulfilling one of my dreams right now.
Yeah, I've
much.
never met an actor who said no to this. Okay.
It's not like we've been practicing ever since we saw our first episode of Inside the Actors Studio. Like, what would I say to that? I don't know. What would you say?
All right, so we'll get to it.
Here we
and
go.
Just, I always just don't think about these things too much, So whatever's right at the top of the dome kind of thing. All right. So, Allison, what is your favorite word?
Juxtapose.
What is your least favorite word?
No.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
Love and compassion.
What turns you off?
Fear and anger.
This is everybody's favorite question. What is your favorite curse word?
I mean, it's got so much good oomph to it that I don't use it a lot, but when I do, it's quite good. So I'm going to have to go with horse shit. It's just, you can really bite into it.
Not literally, hopefully.
No.
What sound or noise do you love?
I love orchestras when they're tuning to that A, and it's the oboe starts, but then the strings come in, and there's just something about sitting in a chamber space, a theater, where that just swells. I feel like it just warms me from the inside out.
That's one of my favorites too.
Mm-hmm.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I mean, I live in a triangle of sirens here in the city, and the COVID epidemic was quite terrible during that. So I think if I never hear another siren for the rest of my life, it'll be too soon.
I'm with you. That and leaf blowers. What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
There's so many, and I could never decide. That's why I chose actor, because I can hopefully pretend to be all of them. But
if you had to.
If I had to choose, probably some combo pack of anthropologist, archaeologist, marine biologist. I like the ologies.
And what profession would you not like any part of?
I really don't need to be on Wall Street.
Awesome. All right, final question.
Sure.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say as you enter the pearly gates?
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Good job on phase 1. Before you go to phase 2, all of your friends, family, and pets are over in the waiting room.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So I'm going to wrap up. For people who want to follow you, find you, where can they do so online?
Oh, of course. I'm online at Allison Siko, ALLISONSIKO. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Threads. Those are where I mainly stay. And then I do have a website, AllisonSiko.com, as well as IMDb.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.